Okay, 4 titles to talk about. Let's see. First up, I watched the first 12 episodes of Needless, which the most interesting thing about it was actually my prediction seemed pretty accurate. It does feel like a combination of Scride and Tokyo Underground. Um, the content itself, it was actually pretty interesting. I liked a lot of the ideas behind it. My only real beef is that it kind of has this tendency to delay. I get the impression it's supposed to be more seinen than shonen, where I guess the difference is which age group you're trying to aim for. So with seinen, I guess they would show more naughty bits and more blood and cursing and whatever. So it seems like it has a lot more of that stuff than something else like say Naruto. But I noticed that as it progressed, it kind of realized it was going through its story too fast, maybe, and started doing these silly delays that don't make much sense. Otherwise, it was pretty neat. Guess I can't think of much else to say about it. It's not at a point. I can't really judge the series too well at this point because I really need to see all of it. And I don't know if it's got one more release or if it's a 50-episode series. I probably should have checked before recording. Oh well. Let's see. The next thing I watched was Koihime Muso, and it was intriguing. Although I think a word I have to describe it is a little shallow. Now, I'm not completely saying that. I'm not really saying that it is a. I'm pretty much saying that it doesn't seem to have a ton of deep thought in it. It just tries to be pretty predictable in terms of what is immediately happening, I guess. It looks like the show is designed to more subscribe to certain fetishes out there. And it's pretty clear based upon how quickly the lolly ranks grow up that that's supposed to be something that they're really advertising. But, you got really other really strange things, like the tongue licking scene. That is definitely not one of my fetishes. So, there isn't much of an overall story, so the characters wander somewhat aimlessly. But the series kind of makes up for it by continuously introducing you to new characters and throwing some action scenes at you. So, it's kind of watching it kind of feels like watching Strawberry Panic, I guess, with slightly more direction, slightly more action, but a little more stereotypical behavior, I guess, if that makes sense. And since the DVD also comes with the OVA for Koihime Muso, I also watched that, and that was equally disturbing and fetishist. And a pretty amusing take on the characters, where basically it takes the same characters, but instead of in a very medieval setting with introduced elements from present. Don't think Samurai Champloo. Think something slightly different, where they like have maid cafes. Whereas with Samurai Champloo, you would have a guy holding a board and walking as if he's listening to a beatbox. And you have stuff like that all through Samurai Champloo, whereas it's just sprinkled in Koihime Muso. Well, the OVA is kind of the opposite, where it takes place in something looking more like a modern high school, with little references to past stuff, like, I would guess, dishes that were most likely eaten in the past, not in present day Japan, given the fact that I've never, ever, ever heard of a horse meat sandwich before. I don't know. So, overall, it was enjoyable. Definitely not the greatest watch out there, so I can kind of understand why a lot of people wouldn't actually enjoy watching it, because there's other things where you feel like you're doing more with your time while watching it, I guess. Going on to the next title, I felt like watching Princess 9, and it was actually pretty good. I'm still not entirely sure what I think of the series overall. It's definitely a combination of a very traditional sports anime with you know, since it's all basically girls forming a baseball team in a society that only has boys competing in baseball, they're basically out of place, but they're also really super skilled players, and they're all capable of completely dominating everybody. It's just um, they have the problem where, well, okay, so they have to transition from half of them being skilled newbies or somewhat skilled newbies to really dominant players. But you know, there's a lot of relationship. I had a good word for that too, but I forget what it was. But there's a lot of contention there that goes on through the series that you don't really see a whole lot of in your traditional sports anime, I guess. And it all worked together pretty well. And I have to say that I was actually surprised how it ended. Um, I don't think I can talk too much about that without completely spoiling it. But, you know, I had a handful of ideas of how they could have ended the series, and it ended up being none of them, which actually quite surprised me. So, at the same time, though, you know, since it's got multiple threads, it somehow tied everything together in a way where it felt like a very satisfactory watch. So, very interesting ending, and I followed that up with a series that's actually very interesting to follow that up, Taisho Baseball Girls, which is about a very similar concept. It's about there's subtle differences between the two though. I'm only like 4 episodes into Taisho Baseball Girls, but Taisho Baseball Girls takes place further in the past. I'm guessing. I'm actually trying to think if I ever saw anything like a cell phone. I guess they were televisions, so yeah. I guess Princess Nine could have been something that's supposed to take place in the 90s. Taisho Baseball Girls, I think it's supposed to take place in something like 1925, except that I didn't think the Japanese were excited about embracing Westernism at that time, so maybe I'm getting the year they mentioned wrong. But it's definitely older Japan where a lot of the older generation still believe in traditional values and look down upon girls playing baseball. So, in a way, that's an interesting contrast between the two, where Princess Nine, you know, there are definitely real issues that a girls' team would have faced trying to join a league that's all boys' teams. But one of those is not, you want to bring a girl into here? Oh my god, I'm so... You know, Princess Nine was a little over the top with its sexism. I could have seen them running into a lot of similar problems, which are just like, no, sorry, the rules just say no girls. Sorry, we can't change the rules. No girls, sorry. You know, instead of, oh, a girls team in our league? No way. And Taisho Baseball Girls, it's more like, a proper girl does not do that. A proper girl does not run. A proper girl does not kneel down like that, or stuff like that. But that's okay, because it's like, if you make stuff about transitions, which Taisho Baseball Girls is more about, then it's more interesting. Then you know, it's really easy to create that that same conflict you needed. Whereas Princess Nine really needed to drum that sort of stuff up, because at the same time they were trying to make it where the team was doing something really epic, which is basically to have a bunch of girls playing on an equal level with a bunch of guys. Overall, it looks like they're both doing pretty well. Taisho Baseball Girls does not need to set it up where the girls are super spectacular stars right from the get-go. Or rather, with handfuls of diamonds in the rough who can completely polish the entire team and take them all to Koihime. I don't even think Koihime existed back then. I could be wrong. Maybe I'll find out in 5 episodes or something. I doubt it. But they're very much more normal characters. So it's interesting to compare and contrast the two. They're pretty different. I don't know. Anyways, that's this week's stuff. I certainly didn't expect to watch half the anime I've watched this week. In fact, I didn't expect I would watch any of it now. So, surprise, surprise. Anyways, that's this week's anime analysis.